Comparing Disney cruises to Disneyland Paris as a disabled person. Excuse me, this is going to jump around a bit. Firstly, access rooms didn't have bunk beds on the cruise. At Disneyland Paris and hotels like Hotel New York and Newport Bay, they have one double bed and then bunk beds. It's a nightmare. I love the fact the rooms had an automatic door opener. Unfortunately, that wasn't on the bathroom, and I found the bathroom door still too heavy, especially when you hit a wave and it swings in the opposite direction. But that automatic door opener is a game changer. They also have a call button, and the clothes rail comes down to wheelchair height. The life jackets were out of reach for me, but you could have just asked your stateroom host to bring them down to your level. The corridors could be an issue due to trolleys, and a couple of families kept leaving their buggies outside their room, which caused difficulty. But the corridors were okay. However, Disneyland Paris corridors are easier. I don't have allergies, however, I only ever hear amazing things about the allergy food on the board and how they adapt dishes for you. Disneyland Paris sucks for allergies majorly. They also switch things for you, so I wasn't feeling well one night and they brought me fruit and sparkling water instead. You can order from any restaurant, not just the one you're in, which is really helpful, and they can provide plain food for people with arfid. This is very specific, but if you have problems with movement, you might struggle with the restaurants and the adult-only areas. Both were over the engines, and I was surprised at how much they vibrated. It was such a downside to me, as it meant I couldn't cope with the meals in the restaurants and could only visit the adult-only areas for brief periods of time. I've never seen anyone mention the vibration before. The floor at Disneyland Paris is lovely and static, well, unless there's an earthquake. On the cruise, there's no help with queuing, but at the same time, that means no fighting out for 6 or 12 disabled slots that are available that day for disabled people. None of the queues were enclosed, they were just down the side of a hallway or along a balcony. There were also characters walking around who'd stop and interact with you. My parents watched Minnie and Daisy joining a family in a game of shuffleboard. There was slime making with Stitch, which all ages could attend to, and character dance parties. You could also go to some game shows where a character would come out at the end. If you didn't want to join in, you could just sit at the back and watch and then meet the character. Overall, the queues were fairly short. I think Pirate Stitch was the longest at maybe an hour, as he was only out for one night. But at the same time, Stitch at Disneyland Paris had hit 4 hours in his queue. On the 7-night cruise, we knew that if there was a long queue, you could just do it another time, so that was really good. My favourite thing at Disneyland Paris are the shows, and the cruise line ones are different but of a similar standard. One night we ended up doing the same show twice instead of going to dinner. I only went to a few of the activities as I wasn't feeling great. One wasn't accessible, and it could have been if they'd chosen to, but they didn't do the simple accommodations to make it wheelchair accessible. That might just be down to the cast member though. Towel folding was our favourite activity, and there were plenty of people to help. For the deck shows, which were moved indoors due to our weather, there were disabled viewing areas, which allowed one disabled person plus one carer in. They were small but worked. Mostly on my trip, it was people with physical disabilities using them. There was always plenty of space to see. If you didn't like crowds, you were probably better off on the balcony looking down anyway. They also had sign language, American Sign Language, at some of the shows. One thing I noticed was the captain would make announcements, sometimes that had quite important information in, but there was no way for deaf people to easily access that info. A quick pop-up on the app would have solved that. Going back to the deck shows, the volume was already high, and then they had a cast member shouting into the microphone, really shouting, and it did ruin it for us. My parents left 2 out of the 3 shows due to this screaming into the microphone. On a different subject, if you struggle to go on rides like I do due to disability, there is far more to do at cruising. You'll run out of time to do it no matter how long your cruise is. Restaurants allowed, but so are the ones at Disneyland Paris. You can eat on the pool deck or have room service, which is free and included if the restaurants are too much for you. They also sent my dinner up with my parents one day when I didn't feel up to going. Price-wise, I think it worked out well, but the price for this year's cruise, which is the same as the one we went on, is nearly 3 times as much. So I guess we got a bargain. I do still go to Disneyland Paris, but I stay off-site with an annual pass and buy supermarket food, so it's hard to compare like for like. But if you were on site with the full package and a meal plan, I'm sure the cruise would work out better. We had breakfast and then went to the Royal Gathering where we met 4 princesses. That would be €60 in Paris. Even things like unlimited Mickey bars, which would be €5 in Paris. There was a dinner where some characters came and danced around. That would be €100 in Paris. Overall, I found the cruise much more accessible than the parks. I just wish you could get on one when it was docked in port and it didn't move and didn't turn its engines on. But I'm asking a bit too much there. I can't get over how much there is to do on the cruise. If you have any access questions, just shout.